Welcome to Permission to Be Human, the podcast. I'm your host, Mel Findlater, mother, coach, and curator of Permission to Be Human, the company and community. If you're a mom, know a mom, or want to be a mom, and you crave getting out in the world to make a difference, then you're in the right place. This is a space for moms like you to connect with yourself, your purpose, and your big, audacious dreams. Because when you feel your best, you can better you, your family, and the wider world. Let's do this. Hello, everyone. I am back from the UK. You may not have even noticed that I went anywhere because in the world of podcasts, I was still here. I still had one last Tuesday when it came out, but I have been away for about 10 days. I was off to the UK and I flew across the world to go to a farm in Wales to sleep in a tent with 2 strangers and to hang out with 100 more strangers who identify as the dreamers and the doers and the changemakers, and to listen to stories of challenge and triumph, of play and disruption, and of loving and learning. So why? Why so far? Why take the time away from my family? How do I manage the irony of flying across the world and all of the negative impact that has in order to hang out with people who want to change the world? Why spend so much money? Why risk getting sick? Which, by the way, I did. So in this episode, my plan is to answer those questions, to give you some of the key learnings that I got at this event, and to talk about how they relate to you and what's next. So here we go. So why the UK? This is the first question. You may or may not know that I actually lived in the UK for 14 years. We moved back to Canada. I live on Vancouver Island in March 2020, which we all know what happened then. So it was pretty chaotic when we moved back. So going over to the UK again was a chance for me to reunite with some really old friends and spend some adult time with them. It's such a rare occasion for me to be able to see them in person, but also to get those depths of conversations that you don't have necessarily when your kids are around. The thing is, I've been over back in Canada for 4 years, and friendships take time to build that level of depth. And visiting old friends that are already at this level fills my connection bucket and reminds me that it is indeed possible. So that is why the UK. So why not take my family? Well, I partly just answered that, right? But also, I needed a break from being responsible, from having the mother load, from holding everything inside of me, from what we're going to eat to where we're going to go to who's doing what today, and from others constantly requiring of me. Once I got to go somewhere where I was literally only responsible for myself. And at the event that I went to, it was glorious because they fed me every day. I didn't have to think about a single thing except showing up and what do I feel like doing right now. Amazing. So why else not to take the family? So that I could remember me again. So that I can reset my nervous system and be a better mom when I come back. So that I can finish a thought and finish a sentence. So that I can visit with depth, as I mentioned before. Conversations with friends that I wouldn't have had when my kids were there. They would have been squished into the evening slots, or perhaps the kids finally are in flow at the end of the garden and we can have a conversation that will likely get interrupted. So these conversations that we can have and that I can have with friends when it's just me are just so needed and so very rare. I need a space and connection and depth. And I knew that my husband, the father of my kids, would hold the reins. Even if he did it in a stressed out, oh my God, is this coming? What am I supposed to do kind of way? I knew that he had it. And it was really good for him to be able to do that, to spend that time with the children. And also for our relationship, for him to witness what I do every single day and hold that. And I trust him, and I knew that they would all be okay. And honestly, the financial barrier is much higher with flying 4 people across the world instead of 1. So let's talk about that flying thing. This has been something that, has not passed me by. I know the irony of flying across the world in order to change the world is there, right? It's super tricky one, and I'm not really sure what the answer is, except to say that my soul really needs it, and that the work I do in trying to better the world every day will hopefully start to, balance that out. And it's a rare occasion that I get to go and do these things. I would love to figure out if anybody has any ideas of how to tangibly measure the impact that I make in the world versus the negative impact that I might make in the world through choices such as flying across it. And do you know what? All of these things I needed to go so that I could be me again. And I think that being me benefits other people because I'm more likely to go out and do my life's work because of it. But the money and the sickness, I fully recognize my privilege here. As a family, we can afford to send me to the UK from Canada. For many people, I totally realize that this is not the case. And add the cost of the do lectures on top of it. This is the event that I went to. It was what it was called. It is not cheap. So the way that the do lecturers manage it is that they video all of the talks that are there in order to give them for free online to the other people around the world, thousands and thousands of views at no cost, right? So for me, that really makes a difference to be able to provide that to the rest of the world as well. And honestly, I would rather spend my money on doing things, on meeting people, on events like this that remind me that I matter and that I belong and that people are overall good. I would rather do that any day than spend money on a thing every single time. I choose experiences, growth, and people. And the sickness, yeah, some people got COVID at the event. I didn't. Apparently, I'm negative, but I have a huge, huge cough for the last week since I've come home. And I've even spread that to my kids. So that is the downside of these types of things, right? That is the risk that I take. We're staying home away from the vulnerable people in our life so that we don't spread that any further. But you know what? All of these things combined, it was still worth it because I came back feeling more me. So on to what I learned while I was there. Some key learnings. The big one for me is around community and remembering that there are other people out there like me. Being an entrepreneur, sitting in this little room of mine, so often talking to a screen, not knowing who's listening on the other side can feel pretty lonely. And I needed to be reminded that there is a community, multiple communities out there that are trying to do similar things to me, that I'm not the only one. I needed to feel like I belong, and I did, and I do. Living in Canada, we've been here 4 years, but 2 of those were, some pretty intense COVID times. So building that community, building that sense of belonging, building relationships, it takes time. And I'm okay with that, and I have to seek it elsewhere when I need to. The other reason I really wanted to go to this event was to learn from the style of the event. There's only 100 people that are attendees that go to this event, pay for tickets and go along. There are volunteers and speakers about that. And that's one of the things that appealed to me most. I had to apply. I think there's like almost 2,000 people that applied. I had to apply to go to this event, and they purposely choose to only keep it to 100 people because they want that sense of community. They want that sense of belonging. They want to have it on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Wales, right? So that's why I go there. That's what appealed to me. I've been to many conferences with like 2,000 people, and I barely see the same person twice, and I don't feel like I belong in those spaces because I am the introverted person who will stay to the back or to the side and have the little conversations. But again, I want to be able to have those conversations to build depth in those relationships by seeing people again. Right? So that was one of my rememberings more than learnings, I think. And, I answered the question of why are you here? Why did you fly across the world to do this so many times? And here's what my answer ended up being. In the very beginning, David Hyatt, one of the owners of the Do lectures and the farm that we were on, came and spoke to welcome us all. And he said a couple of things. And these two things are the reason I was there. Firstly, he said, it's likely that you are here to get permission. Permission to do what you already want to do. Right? That's, of course, why I was there. I wanted permission to take a chance, to get out there to do something. And I think so many other people that were there did as well. And this is the main one. He said, if you want to change the world, you need to hang out with other people who want to change the world. That's it. That's why I flew across the world to the Do lectures in Wales and slept in a tent with people I didn't know. Because I wanted to be surrounded by other people who wanted to do good, who want to go make a difference in the world. And that doesn't exist currently, to my knowledge, where I am. So that's my why. That's why I was there. So I'm going to now give you a few of the themes of what I learned while I was there. But in other episodes, I'm actually going to go into full conversation and even interview some of the people that I met there to give you more depth to the topics that I'm going to mention below. So here's the themes of what came out. The first one is shite happens. Okay? Hard things happen to everyone, and it's through feeling these times that we come out and go and make a difference. As DJ Crust, one of the speakers there, says, you break down to break through. And this was the theme of so many of the conversations, so many of the stories that were shared there. Really hard things happened in their life, things that had you crumbling down on the floor thinking, how is this it? And it's out of those that people had their best work, became their best version of themselves. So if you're feeling like this is a hard time, or perhaps you've had that hard time in the past, perhaps you're on your way up now, or know that that is coming, because it is through those challenging times that we learn. And I know it doesn't feel like it during that time, but that is the key theme that came out of there. The other theme is together is what matters. Humans are designed to be together. There's an amazing man called James Sills who came along and had us all singing at the event. We did multiple times. We had a little intro where we learned a little section of a song. And then one evening we all sang together the whole song and kind of performed it. And it was really beautiful to hear just people come together and sing. And one of the things he says in his introduction is we can't all talk at the same time, but we can all sing at the same time. And I just thought that was really beautiful way to describe the unity that can come through that action. And whether that be singing or something else, what else can we do at the same time, right? It is together that we need to be. That's how we're going to make something happen. Another theme coming out for me was that purpose is fluid and it changes as you change. You know, we're often out there seeking our purpose, right? And the thing is, firstly, it's not something you go out and find. It's already within you. And it changes as you go. What it actually looks like changes as you go. How you achieve it changes as you go. And maybe the whole thing changes as you go, as you learn and adapt and become the next version of yourself. So purpose is fluid. Another thing that really came out for me is to have fun. You know, there was multiple talks where one was talking about entrepreneurship being like a paint palette and how they can express themselves in the world. Another being about joyful disruption. How do we challenge things that are serious with playful methods? Dancing together in the evenings. We did that every single night. There was a party. And as exhausting as that was for me as a more introverted person, oh my goodness, the unity that you feel when you're dancing together is incredible. singing together, as I said with James. And this concept and overall theme that if you feel the urge to go do something a little wacky, to challenge the quietness in the tube, as one person did, go do it, right? If you feel the urge, go do it. Express yourself in whatever way that feels right. Another theme being just do what feels right now. And decisions don't have to be permanent. Amir Afen said that, and that really stuck with me because I am someone who can definitely struggle with the overwhelm of choice and which thing should I do right now, and what if I don't like it, and. So this reminder that you do what feels right now and that decisions do not have to be permanent. You can change your mind at any time. Permission to change your mind. Pretty sure we've had an episode all about that. And lastly, to feel and to notice how we feel, to notice our body's reactions to things. Our bodies are telling us something. We use so much of our brain to think, but actually our bodies are doing it too. What are they telling us? What can we notice? So how does this all relate to you? Well, similar to all of these other conversations that we have on this podcast, I'm hoping that you're going to walk away inspired and, question some of the decisions you have to give you permission to do the things that are feeling right in your life. Because maybe you're craving community as well, or craving space, or craving growth. Maybe you too forget that you belong. Or perhaps you haven't found the people who think like you, or maybe think completely different than you, but have the same goal. Because it's nice to be reminded that seemingly crazy things are possible, that we don't always have to follow the rules. We can make our own. And that taking time for you is allowed, that you have permission to notice what you need and to ask for it, to make space for it. And my hope is that in sharing this story, just like so many of the other guests in this podcast that you hear from, that you will feel inspired, like anything is possible, like you belong and like you matter. That is why I share this with you. And so what's next? Where do I take this? My key learnings from this trip, which is perhaps more of a remembering, I would say, because I already knew it, is that what I do naturally when I allow myself is to create the community that I need the most. Because usually it's a community that others need too. And so I believe in the power of bringing people together and curating a space and then watching the magic happen. So that's what's next. I'm intentionally choosing to notice how and where I can make this happen. To notice the people around me who have dreams, who are doing, who are being with intention. And to collect them, to gather them up, to guide and be guided by them. So if you're listening and you're like, hey, that's me, or I want to be one of those people, I want to gather, I want to connect, I want to believe, I want to do, I want to make a difference, I want to intentionally be, I want to remember that I matter. Perhaps you want to be in at the beginning before we even know what this all means, but we know that doing it together and being together is where the magic's going to happen. If you're thinking, yes, that's me, then let's do it. Just pop on over to permissiontobehuman.ca/the community, put your details in, and I'll figure it out. I'd take one little step at a time. Maybe we'll pop onto one of the groups in one of the various platforms, and we will make this happen. We will start connecting, and we will figure out what is next. So thank you for listening. That is the Do Lectures and my trip to Wales and to the UK. And let's see what happens from now on, right? I will share more specifically some of the learnings and get you to meet some of the amazing people that I met along the way in future episodes. But for now, thanks for joining me. You know when you have that dream or that idea and You hold it really tight and you don't really want to share it with anyone until you have it just right, until you are absolutely assured that it is exactly what you want it to be. But you also know deep down inside that it is unlikely to get perfect. It is unlikely to get to exactly where you want it to be unless you share it with others. It's when we share it with other people that we get the energy and the momentum. It is when we get feedback. It is when we start to iterate inside of our own minds. We need to get it out of our bodies and into the world in some sort of way. And talking to someone who will cheer you on is exactly the first step. Now, if you can't think of anybody in your life that you would love to share your dream with in this raw stage where you're not going to get the words right and you're worried that they're going to come back to you and be, yeah, but, or ooh, what if? Don't share it with those people. If you can't think of who to share it with, then I want to be that person for you. Totally complimentary. I am launching the Dream Haven, and it is a simple message back and forth concept where you tell me your dream and I cheer you on and tell you exactly how amazing I think it is. I can be that safe space for you and your dreams to grow into whatever they're going to grow. It's totally complimentary. It remains your dream, not mine. And I would absolutely love and be honored by being that person who gets to hear it first. So head on over to permissiontobehuman.ca/the-dream-haven and let's get this going, because your dream deserves to be out there in the world. It could be a project, it could be a business, it could be the change that you really want to see in the world. It could be an adventure that you really want to go on. You got this. Let's hear about it. Again, all you have to do is head on over to permissiontobehuman.ca/the-dream-haven and put your details in, and you'll get a video personalized back from me inviting you to take our next step. That is it, folks. This has been Mel Findlater on Permission to Be Human, the podcast, and I am so glad that you have joined us here today and hope that you have taken away some tidbits that will help you go away, connect with your big audacious dream, and make that massive impact in the world that you are dying to make. If you liked today's episode, please, please, please like it, share it. Think of one person that you think would also like it and send it on over to them. Let's get this out there and more moms feeling like themselves, inspired, dreaming big, and out there being them. Please do head on over to find me on Facebook with Permission to Be Human or Instagram, or you can even pop me an email and say hello at permissiontobehumanalways@gmail.com. Say hello and let me know that you listened. What did you like about it? I would love to hear. If you didn't like it, I don't really want to know. Just kidding. You can share that if you want. I would love to know, however, who you are. Let's connect. Let's find out what you want more of. Yes, this is a newer podcast, so I want to hear from you and I want to make it what would be useful to you. As always, remember that you have permission to dream big, permission to feel big, and permission to be you. You have complete and full permission to be human. For real, you do.